Hey, good morning, everybody. Rob here, travels with Dottie and George. They're both here on the couch. I got them in the same frame. Not for long with George, though. George is leaping for the little table that has his food on it. So that's probably all you'll see of George. Let's take this wide angle thing off. I think it's a little dirty anyway. What is the date today? The 20th of May, 2025. And before I get going, a couple things. One is I've had quite a few questions, meaning 3 or 4, where people are saying, so I guess you've given up RV life. When did you do a video on that? I mean, sort of not terribly supportive arguments. Now, I'm not sure what I said, if I said anything to lead people to believe that, but let's make something clear. This little place I rent for my, this little house, and I'm loosely house because of this, that I can afford it because there's no plumbing, there's no kitchen, there's no bathroom, there's really no place to sleep. If I was giving up my RV, I would have none of those things. This is basically a freestanding living room. That's all it is. And trust me, on camera, it looks way bigger than it is. It's pretty small. It's comfortable for me, and we love it here. And it gives us a place to go to between the seasons, and that's where I am right now. Normally, I would be getting ready to go on June 1st up to Eagle Nest, but I'm delaying that by 2 weeks because of my hip surgery, my hip replacement. I'm giving it an extra couple of weeks of recovery before I make that trip. And I want to give Eagle Nest a little time to warm up too. By the middle of June at 8,000 feet, it's probably great. So no, I'm not giving up RV life. I'm going to Eagle Nest probably around the 15th of June. I'll be there until sometime in September. I'll come back here for September and October, and then I'm going to be actually in an RV park for the first time in Quartzsite to do videos and a review and a day in the life of what it's like to be in Quartzsite, not boondocking, but in town in an RV park. And I'll share with you what it costs and what it's like and how it's different. I think there's going to be, being in town, there's going to be a lot of things that are different. I'm pretty excited about doing that. And then I'll leave Quartzsite. I'll come back here in the spring, and then in the summer, boom, up to Eagle Nest again. And, I'll keep doing that as long as that's fun. I could change those things and, go to Cloudcroft or something instead of Eagle Nest, or up in Colorado, or maybe up in Idaho again. I don't know what I'm going to do. But the anchor is going to be southeast New Mexico in the beautiful Permian Basin. All right. So that's that. The other thing is I have a lot of comments here, and the comment videos I think are running too long and they're getting a little boring for people. So I'm going to cherry pick a little bit. So I'm sorry if I skip your comment. Nothing personal, and it's often just going to be random. But the first one today is from Virginia Hankey on a positive news video. And by the way, you might have noticed that I changed back over to shorts on positive news videos. And I've switched off of shorts to long form for a very selfish reason. What they pay you for regular videos is probably 5 to 10 times the rate they pay you for shorts. So it was selfish, and I realized I'm reaching far less people. I'm making a little bit more money, and when I talk more money, how much do I make by shorts? Between 50 cents and $1. Come on, Rob. So I went back over to shorts, gave up that income, and instead of getting 100 views, I'm getting 400 or 500 views. So I'm getting it out to more people. So that's a good thing. Oh, George has come back. You hear that? That's George in his litter box. And it's become a normal thing for every time I'm recording a video in here. George picks that moment to go into the litter box. Right, George? It's not over yet, trust me. Well, it's almost 8 o'clock in the morning. I think it's going to be a hot one today. Hang on, let me look at the weather here. It's going to be... let's see. It's 59 degrees now at 8 a.m., but it's going to go up to, drumroll, 86. 90, well, it's going to get really warm later this week. 95 Wednesday, 99 Thursday, 102 Friday, 99 Saturday, then it breaks back down to 93, 82, 80. Nice weather, but we're going to have a bit of a pop here with hot weather. So 99-year-old vet was positive news story number 423 in Virginia Hankey says, my family came over on the Mayflower and fought in every single conflict the country has ever been in, except Afghanistan. I cannot help but honor this man more than I can ever say. And like so many, like millions of Americans, literally millions, and I'll tell you how I know this. My family is descended from a Mayflower passenger, and on my mother's side we have the ancestry going back to that time to John Howland, and there's a John Howland Society that you can join if you are a descendant of John Howland. And one of the distinctions Mr. Howland has is he actually fell overboard on the way across the Atlantic and was rescued. So he made it. Thank God. If he wasn't rescued, you'd be watching some other channel because I wouldn't be alive. But I believe in just the John Howland Society, the one person on the Mayflower, there are 3 million descendants. And which means, and they give some of the famous ones, and the only famous one I can remember is George Bush, the Bush family. So I'm distantly related to the Bushes. Anyway, let's see. This is worth reading. Somebody said I was on a video and I stopped and I got a hamburger. And I was saying I was going to get my vegetables because I'm going to go ahead and have the pickle in it. And someone said, that's a fruit, not a vegetable. I'm like, really? I didn't know that. And that's really all I said. And Ken, of course, looked it up and said, had to look this up to be sure. A botanical fruit would have at least one seed and grow from the flower of the plant. With this definition in mind, cucumbers are classified as fruit because they contain tiny seeds in the middle and grow from the flower of the cucumber plant. This means both tomatoes and cucumbers are fruit. Knowledge. Not putting them in fruit salad. Wisdom. That's funny. So that's, that's something. Let's see. PTL Jimmy G, teacher Rob, great video. Love the comments. Rob thanked Ken Gray for the positive comment on starting a YouTube channel. Just need to get the courage to just do it. Yeah, just do it. I see video after video about what's hot on YouTube this year. And it's people doing very simple day-to-day things without editing, and people love it, grocery shopping, things, the things that I was puzzled that people liked about my channel a couple of years ago, they're saying now, this is the trend. And leave mistakes in. Why do you leave mistakes in? Because people know that it's, my theory is people get that it's real. And they like it. They like real versus the high production values and the scripts and stuff. Somebody just went off on me on a video, probably the most popular video I've done in well over a month. We'll talk about it later in the comments. But they said, you said too many times. You need to learn to speak professionally. Really? So that means I need a script and I need to practice, and I don't do scripts. And what is when we say what is that? Some people call those word whiskers. And it's designed, something in our brain says silent pauses are no good. So we have to put a noise in there if we're going to pause. And we will often pause to think of the next word we're going to say or our next thought. So many of us, not everyone does this, but many of us say things like when we're doing that. And I do have a program where I can upload and it'll take them all out and you'll never know I said them. You might see my lip. Your lips don't move much when you say It's imperceptible. So it takes all the ums out. And sometimes, every once in a while, I use that program. It's kind of time consuming. But if I have a very long video and I've noticed a huge number of ums, I'll put it, it's called Descript is the name of the program. And it'll go through and it'll remove all those and you upload the audio back. And it's like you did it flawlessly, but I don't do it often. The occasional I think is okay, and it gives authenticity. Let's see. Pam Lewis says, we live in Artesia and have camped at Brantley several times, so that'll be a neighbor of mine, I guess. On my Brantley Lake State Park video, I did a tour, and it's a state park near here. It was pretty interesting. Let's see. I'm skipping a couple. I don't want to bore you. I'm boring a couple of people. I know that. Generous, kind delivery guy, Positive News, simply gobsmacked, says, love the daily Positive News spots. What a good man to fix that lady's doorbell. And Ken says, wonderful delivery person. I always wave to them while walking because the ones that come to my neighborhood are always so nice. Cindy Wall says, you gave your phone number at the parts store. And I said it's available online. My phone number is not a secret. My phone number is not a secret. I use it for my counseling business. And you're like, you give your counseling clients your cell phone number? I go, yeah. We make an agreement on guidelines to use it, I haven't had a client violate our agreement. And if I had somebody that got my phone number and was harassing me, it's really easy these days just to block numbers. And unknown numbers go through a program where they have to go through a verification process before the number even rings to me. So, even so, I just went into you can go in after the fact, after you publish something, and you can edit a section out, and I just took the section with like the last four numbers, just cut it out. People don't need to hear my phone number in the videos. It was a good point, and that was Cindy. Yeah, Cindy, you had a point. It is available, but why flaunt it out there? And somebody always says, you showed your code on how to get into your truck. And I always ask this question. Okay, if I showed my code and you saw it, rewatch it, do it in slow motion, do it frame by frame, and tell me what the code is. And no one's ever gotten it because you can't really see what I'm doing. And besides, I change it regularly. I mean, regularly meaning a couple times a year. For that very reason. Because someday the angle may be right and somebody may see it, and I don't want people knowing how to get into my truck. Lewis, Walmart should carry that type of automatic fuse, any auto. So I was looking for those, they're called Micro 2 fuses, the little fuses in the car. I was having trouble finding them. RV Life, I kept laughing when I hear the music in the grocery store and there's no voiceover. Did you get fined or something? What he's talking about, I did the grocery store video, and in it I said, hey, there's pop music playing in the background. I'll probably have to do a voiceover after the fact. because I'll get a copyright strike, or not a strike, but a warning that you've got copyrighted material. They used to, if there's any copyrighted material, you got a strike, and if you got 3 strikes, you lose your channel. Now they say, hey, you can't be not monetized. You've got a copyright thing here. What do you want to do? As opposed to convicting you and giving you a strike. So anyway, but my software that I use that is called CapCut, and I have the professional CapCut, so I think it's like $9 a month, but there is a free version. And this feature I think may be in the pro version that I pay for, but it will separate out sounds like voice and music and stuff. And it didn't do a great job, but it muted the music enough so it didn't trigger the copyright stuff. So no, I didn't get fined or anything. Let's see. Just Making Observation says, wisdom from experience: never go to the grocery shopping when hungry, and never have a beer to quench your thirst. Have a glass of cold water first. I enjoy your videos. That's good advice. When I had mentioned in the grocery video, I said, it feels different in here. I'm not like grabbing a lot of stuff because I just ate and I'm not hungry, and it was a whole different feeling going through the grocery store that way. Let's see. Let's see. Hang on. Under top 10 things I wish I knew before retiring in an RV, RV Life says, good advice as always. Not sure I want to know, but would be interested in learning how to get my total purchases on Amazon. And I said, Google it, please. And she said, okay, because it's a little complicated. And instead of me, I'd have to Google it to remind myself, and then I either have to cut and paste or retype the directions. It's much easier to, instead of me doing it for you, if you have a question like that, to just type your question into Google and boom, there you go. As a matter of fact, had RV Life copied and paste their comment and put it in Google search, that it got the answer. It's a little convoluted on how you have to drill into, I can't even remember now, but you drill into a certain place on your Amazon account and you request a download of all your purchases, and like a couple hours later they send you an email with a link and you can download it. And what they send you is from day one. So I've been doing Amazon since for, I don't know, it went back close to 20 years, I think. Whenever Amazon started selling is when I started buying. So out of curiosity, I downloaded it and totaled it, and I am very embarrassed. So I'm not going to tell you the total, but it was utterly shocking. Let's see. Here's a good one. Moonstar says, too many ads. I know you want to make money, but I watch until the first ad comes and then I leave. And I couldn't help myself. I don't usually respond to quite like this. I responded twice, and I said, do you do that when you watch TV? Turn off the TV after the first ad. I think that's a good question. And I want to ask also, do you work for free? Because that's the expectation that I know you want to make money, but so he doesn't want me to make money. Most of the ads you can, some of them you can't skip, but I think most of them you can skip. Let me know in the comments if you find, is there a mix of skippable and non-skippable ads? And I don't even know how many ads you see on my videos. I guess it depends on length. And then another guy called Louis Paparella responded to this guy too and said, content creators have no control over YouTube ads. Well, not quite true. I know what he means, but it's not quite true. One, each video I can say, yes, I'm going to monetize or not. And I think if I say no, I don't think there are any ads. But if I say, yes, they're ads, the control I do have is I can go in manually in place where the ads are going to be, and I can exclude certain advertisers. I don't do either one of those things. I let YouTube do everything. I think if I ever got a serious, I think once I did go in and I blocked some advertiser because I got a complaint on an ad, and I went and checked it out, and I agreed that it didn't seem appropriate, so I went and blocked that company. Let's see. Susan says, very helpful tips, especially the health coverage aspects. Good to know about Air Med Care membership. David Cassidy said, Rob, I spent 32 years as an aeromedical aircraft mechanic and left the workforce in 2019. At that time, the average cost of a helicopter transport was $50,000. The air transport insurance you have is a good thing. And Louis Paparella got in there and said, my life flight bill was $79,999 retail. My Medicare copay was $1,200. I called them to arrange payments. They had me fill out a financial statement. Then they billed me $300, which I promptly paid. I had never asked for a discount. That's good info. Wow. Let's see. Here's one of those. Bill Oakley says, are you ever going to travel again? When? Well, I answered that at the beginning. The 15th of next month, I'm going to be up in Eagle Nest, and then Quartzsite, then back here, and then Eagle Nest again. So I'm still traveling. Let's see. Chris B says, I just bought a tiny home on a quarter acre. Now I need to downsize from 1,200 to 300 square feet. I've learned that I can live in my ProMaster van, but in my house I have a lot of deceased parents' belongings. It's hard to get rid of those sentimental items. I can understand that. Rob Hebb says, yes, people who sell everything and move to an RV must know that an RV, like an automobile, is a bad investment. Just like a car, it will depreciate fast. So if you have extra funds, you need to invest in land or have an investment advisor, place some in stocks and bonds, and then be prepared for the RV to nickel and dime you to death. Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of truth in what you said. I think it's a pretty obvious thing to most people that an RV, a travel trailer, isn't going to be an appreciating asset like buying a house, right? Well, think about that. When you buy a house, the thing that's appreciating isn't really the house. It's the land. It's the real estate that it's on is the thing that mostly drives the appreciation. So you don't get any land or real estate with your RV. So just like think about it. If you bought a beautiful piece of property, beachfront property in Malibu, and you let your house deteriorate and it crumbled to nothing over 20 years, that beachfront property would still be worth a hell of a lot of money and would have appreciated in value over that 20 years very significantly. Even if the house just crumbled into nothing, the value is going to be the land. Not all the value, of course. The same piece of land with a nice house is going to be more valuable, obviously. But you get my point. Let's see. More top 10 things I wish I knew. Live our best. In the past 2 years, I spent about 50% of the time boondocking in my RV, 50% of the time living in Mexico or Colombia, and I'm currently in Thailand for 3 months. It's more affordable to rent a nice apartment here in Hao Hin, a block from the beach, and walk to restaurants twice a day than it is to boondock with all the costs involved to camp. I had a full blood work panel done here, and the lab bill was $22. I got Dottie a full lab test yesterday, and it was like $200 for Dottie. She's fine, by the way. Little uptick in one of the liver panels because I had her on an NSAID Rimadyl for 90 days, and we stopped that and went to gabapentin. So she's in good shape, but it was over $200. That said, I miss the weather and the beauty of the desert Southwest, and I'm headed back. Way too humid in Thailand. So I'd like that. That's an example of, that's another way to do this life. You know, just because you have an RV doesn't mean you need to be in that RV all the time to be a nomad. You can do other things like he did, like me, being in my, I'll call it a standalone versus a house so I don't confuse people. My standalone living room with a RV right next to it. It's my little private little compound. And I've got that. And then I can go up and be on the lake in Eagle Nest for a couple of months. And there's so many different things that I can do. Or I could go to Mexico or Thailand. Thailand, it's very inexpensive. He's not kidding about, you can have a really, really nice temporary apartment just a couple of blocks from the beach and restaurants, and it's very pleasant. Although he says it's humid. So on my Wizard, I did one on the anniversary of the Wizard of Oz, a positive news video, and how that I relate that so much to childhood memories. Virginia Hankey too added, all we had was the same Zenith black and white growing up, and it wasn't until I reached the age of 12 that and this is almost identical story for me, age of 12, that a neighbor invited us over to watch it on their color TV. Needless to say, my eyes bugged out. And I was about 12, but my father had gotten remarried and we moved to a new house. And right after we moved in, as a surprise, my stepmother ordered the console color TV as a surprise for my father, and had it installed. Those days, you don't put console TVs in the back of your car and drive them home. They were huge. But that's the first time, I was about 12, that year I saw where she opens, everything's in black and white in the beginning of the movie, and she opens the door when she gets to Oz, and it's all Technicolor. Well, when you have a black and white TV, you don't see any of that. And when you see it for the first time as a kid, it's like mind blowing. Let's see. 10 things I wish I knew on the health thing. I couldn't go into detail on health things, but here's an important detail from Susan R. Something worth being aware of. One wants to sign up for Medigap. In most states, Medigap plans are available only in the first 6 months after you become eligible for Medicare. So after 6 months after you're 65. After that, plans may require a health screening. They refer to it as underwriting. So you could get charged more. You may be denied coverage or be charged higher rates if you have significant health problems or pre-existing conditions. It's true fact. Thank you, Susan. Let's see, full-time on Social Security, the ultimate guide. Wow. RV full-time on Social Security, that's an old video. And Robin's Realm Readings says, please, I need your help. I really need some ideas about I'm about to buy an RV. I'm 69, want to have an opportunity to work. So what I did is I did a link to Robin Barrett's book, and you can get it on, I think it's $8. It's $8 on Amazon. Work from Home While You Roam, and it's a Kindle book which she updated. Robin Barrett's a YouTuber and full-timer, and she does great research for this book, and she updates it yearly. And so I've bought it and looked at it, and I checked out a bunch of the opportunities she puts out there, and they're all legit. So there's that. So I gave that person a link to that, but you can find it. It's Work From Home, Robin Barrett, Barrett. Huh. Laura Jones says, great info on our fun RV facts. Great info. Thank you. I bought a 2001 Ford E350 Super Duty 1-ton. I bought a big red empty beer can. So a Ford E350 is like a cargo van, I think. And it must be colored red. Recently, I made the decision to go van life permanently. I love this lifestyle. Was looking into the upgrade to a mini RV, realizing it isn't an upgrade at all, especially after this little nugget of info. And RV fun facts that she's responding to is me saying, hey, RVs are not built for full-timers. They're built for, like 20 camping days per year, for 10 or 20 years, and then the stuff is supposed to wear out. But if you're using it every day, you'll run out of those camping days, the obsolescence, in a couple of years, not 20 years. So, and she's saying, realizing it isn't an upgrade at all, especially after this little nugget of info. What she's saying rightfully is, if you build something yourself for full time, you can make it so it's gonna last full time for 20 years. You don't have to do the shortcuts that the RV people do because they're doing a recreation vehicle. You're not doing you're not doing an RV. You're doing an FTV, a full time vehicle. FTV, that can be a thing, right? New plan is to finish the interior. I want it to look like a log cabin on the inside. This is my girl cave, mountain cabin, beach bungalow, fortress of solitude, where I feel safe, protected by metal walls, tempered glass, and barred windows. This van is one big, heavy, greasy puzzle. Every part is fixable or replaceable. No landlords, no eviction notices, no housemates, no lawns. I work when I want. I travel when I want. I live everywhere and nowhere. Pure freedom. Great comment. I love that. Thank you, Laura Jones. Susan B. said, I came across The Wizard of Oz in my local library when I was a kid, my introduction to fantasy literature. It was a life-changing experience, unequaled until my older brother sent me the Lord of the Rings book, The Fellowship of the Ring. My mother brought that same much younger brother to see the Wizard of Oz movie, and he was so terrified by the Witch of the West that she had to leave. Great post. One of the things I said in this video is, people don't realize it, but that was just book one that the movie was made about. There were 14 books with those characters, Dorothy and the Lion and the Scarecrow. 14 books. Here I talk about the fact that a good analogy for RVs not being designed for daily use was the example of offices doing things like, we're going to put a Mr. Coffee in the break room. And they get frustrated that they're having to replace that Mr. Coffee every year. And they think, well, boy, that's a lousy brand. No, a Mr. Coffee for a consumer is designed for a family to have coffee. It's not designed for like a 24-hour clinic where I was in, where, there were 150 people working there, and there was constantly someone making a cup of coffee. There was a hot thing of coffee 24 hours a day. So of course it's going to wear out. It's getting 10 years of use in a couple months. So smart companies do things like they do commercial coffee makers. Hello, like restaurants do. It's going to be working all the time. You got to spend the extra money for a commercial. And appliances as well. Consumer appliances aren't designed to be used like in a commercial kitchen. You're not going to see consumer refrigerators or stoves in a commercial kitchen. You're going to see much more heavy duty stuff because they don't use their stuff like families do. And that's the same concept. Well, Peter says, I worked in air traffic control center in the 80s for acoustic purposes, not for comfort. It was carpeted. The carpet was supposed to last 10 years, but within just 3, so the carpet company said this is a 10-year guarantee or something. The carpet was supposed to last 10 years, but in just 3, it began developing holes at the radar consoles. And then some bright spark realized the entire center was active 24/7, 365. Hello? So what did they need there? They needed commercial carpeting, which they obviously didn't do. Good coffee. JBC RV companies and dealerships aren't consumer-friendly businesses. If you get a good truck, I think you're better off with something you tow. That way your truck has the normal consumer protections, and there are more shops that will work on your truck than an RV. I agree. Now, to take nothing away from people that are in vans and Class Cs and Class As, one of the big benefits that I enjoy as a travel trailer person is, my Ford F-50 is divorced from the RV. When I take it into the Ford dealership, they don't even know I have an RV. So, and I get all the protections associated with it, the service and everything. It's no big deal. And if I need to replace my trailer, it's a lot less expensive proposition than if, I had a self-contained unit like a Class A or a Class C, a motorhome, where I had to swap out the whole thing. It's easier. And the biggie is when I'm staying somewhere like here, I just unhook the truck and I've got my daily driver. That's my favorite part. And Ken says on the subject of obsolescence in RVs, he says, I think this is why so many people started doing self-builds, trying to extend the life in building of the unit. Exactly. Some guy says, hey, I thought you were Tom Segura. I don't know who Tom Segura is, so I Googled him. He's like a comedian, and he does kind of look like me. But it's a compliment because Tom Segura is like 20 years younger than me. So let's see. Rose Original says, we bought our 2023 for $30K with all the options. It has been the best investment we have made. Very lucky and good for you that you bought an RV and it hasn't been a nightmare. There's so many. George is going again. In my thing, I'm thinking he doesn't really need to go. I think he knows that it bothers me. In 2 years we've owned it. We put 17,000 miles on her. It's a delight to travel with since it fits in very small spaces. Katie's Casita Closet has been a wonder for our organization. Love all the mods they have made. Love the mods they've made. And this was on a video I did for my, I did Casita trailer customized by a couple. Clever and amazing, it's called. For those of you that are with me, it's my friends Charlie and Diane from Eagle Nest. Also was with them in Quartzsite. It was their Casita that we toured, and Rose is saying she bought a 2023 Casita and loves it. And the Katie's Casita Closet was something that Charlie showed, that a modification he made to the closet in there that adds smarter storage. It's a small unit, but people that have Casitas just love them. Let's see. This one I just didn't get. This is on, okay, the video is top 10 things I wish I knew before retiring an RV. It says, this is PTL Jimmy. Teacher Rob, great video. Then he says, oh my God, if your numbers are correct, boondocking or even RVing is just not worth it. Rob's numbers, minimum $1,200 to $1,500 a month. Now with the extra expenses, $5,000, $6,000 every 5 years or so. Rob, for that kind of money, I can live a few blocks from the Atlantic Ocean for between $7,000 to $1,000 a month, and I'm fishing and watching all eye candy strolling along the beach. And I responded to him. I said, I have no idea where you got your numbers. It's like you watched someone else's video and commented here. I add things up like food, $600 a month, Wi-Fi, $200 a month, propane, $200 to $300 a month, gas, $100 to $200 a month, miscellaneous, $200 to $300 a month. That's $1,400 a month. Rob, that's expensive for poor people like me. I do not make $5,000 a month from YouTube. Sorry, teacher Rob. And I'm like, Jimmy, those numbers are just made up. Those are unrealistic numbers. You did not get any of them from me. And no, he did not. Not to mention the fact when you $600 a month for food, do you think it's you spend less on food if you're living 2 blocks from the beach? That food is irrelevant. That's not. It's going to be basically the same whether you're traveling or not, with some few exceptions. Propane, $200 to $300 a month. What the heck? During the coldest months, I paid maybe $30 a month for propane. Gas, $100 to $200 a month. Sure, if you're constantly traveling, but I don't. I stay in the same place for 2 or 3 months at a time, so my gas is irrelevant because I travel around in my truck just like I would if I had an apartment there. So that doesn't really count either. So I don't know. He seems like a nice, friendly guy that makes great comments, but what the heck? Let's see. Already at 40 minutes. I'm sorry, and I've skipped a lot of them. I'm going to skip up to maybe yesterday. A lot of people, I lost Dottie's food bowl. Okay. I want you to understand this. This is what you said. This is where I spend the days. You're seeing everything here. There are no other rooms. Those are closets back there. There are no other rooms. Then I have a 21-foot trailer. That's it. That's it. And one day, I went to feed Dottie, and I couldn't find her bowl. I remembered washing it. I looked everywhere. I looked in the freezer. I looked in every drawer. I looked in my garbage bag thinking maybe I absentmindedly put it in there. And my friends, I never found it. And the main theory online here in the comments is George somehow has engineered the theft and hid it someplace where I can't find it. And you know what? That's actually the most reasonable explanation I could think of, because I had to go. I had a whole video on going to buy a replacement bowl. Very strange. It's like it slipped through a porthole into an alternate universe or something. Let's see. Lots of comments on that. And like Nancy Mandero says, just maybe accidentally put it out with the trash. I did check that. So Valerie says, I'm glad you're doing well. I'm interested in how you solved your domicile issue after selling your RV timeshare. It's an important topic. I didn't sell it wasn't really a timeshare, but she's talking about my preferred RV membership in Pahrump, where I was domiciled. I didn't sell that until I moved to New Mexico and established residence here. Then I sold the membership up there. That's all there is to that. So I'm, instead of being an owner member of a place, I'm just renting a place full time, year round. But I'm not here year round. I'm here, but it's a permanent residence for me. So it's my new domicile in New Mexico. I got a few comments on that. There was one nasty one that said you should have done your research because there's income tax in New Mexico and there wasn't in Nevada, and now you're going to be spending more money. And that's just this first part's true, the second part's not true. There is a income tax in New Mexico. Absolutely, you got to file income taxes here. And I accounted for that. But my vehicle registration was like when I moved to Nevada for the travel trailer and truck, it was over $1,000. Here it was under $100 for both of them. So I say, look at, granted in Nevada, it went down a little every year. They depreciate the value. It was like a value tax or some kind of personal property tax that you paid. They don't have that here. So instead of that, they have the income tax, but still I did a calculator, figured out what my income tax here is going to be, and it still did not, it was less than what I saved just on the vehicle registration. Then my truck insurance was half. So everything came out a little less expensive in New Mexico. But the other thing you need to consider is where do you want to live? That matters too. Where do you want to have a home base? So the older you get, the more chances are you may have something like I did, like a surgery, where you're kind of grounded for a little while. You can't travel much, and it's nice to have a pleasant place that you know you can go to. And that's why I always have a home base that I know I can go to. And it matters how you feel about it. And I liked Preferred RV Resort, but here's the thing the only thing I didn't like is you paid for a membership and you're a part owner, but you don't get a site, right? And so every time you go, you're in a different site. People can't own a site. They own a percentage of the RV park, but not a particular site. So it's not like you can have the same site to go back to and make improvements on it, have maybe a storage shed and things like that. And that was a big drawback for me. In renting this place, I can store things here. I don't have to carry everything with me in my RV. And the fact that I love spending so much time in New Mexico, in Arizona, it's a little bit more convenient for me. Now, it's true that to get from here to Quartzsite, it's not like an easy one-day trip like here to Eagle Nest. It's a 2-day trip for me. I mean, I could do it in a day. It'd be an awfully long day, but it's a good, 1-night stay on the way, and I'm in Quartzsite, 2-day trip. Pahrump was a long 1-day trip, and it was definitely a 2 to 3-day trip to get to Eagle Nest from Pahrump. So there's not a huge difference, but I'm just more comfortable, and I really, really love New Mexico. I don't have negative things to say about Nevada, but there's things about New Mexico I like more. And certainly the town, Pahrump versus Artesia. Artesia is so laid back and people are so friendly. And I'm not saying they're unfriendly in Pahrump, but people are in more of a rush in Pahrump, and lots of car accidents and stuff in Pahrump. Tons of car accidents. People drive very, very fast and often recklessly. And I think that's one of the reasons that my auto insurance was double in Nevada than here, because you don't see accidents and fire trucks running all over the place. And when I'm out driving and when I go into town here, people are driving slow, easy, and letting people go in front of them. And it's consistent. It's a safe place to drive. And like if I go into the grocery store, I love going shopping because I talk to people and I run into everybody's so nice and friendly. It's fun. It's a lot of fun. I got off the track, didn't I? Let's see. I'm back to a day ago. Time to call the Ghostbusters on the missing bowl. That's funny. Okay, so word to the comments on this big video. And when I say big video, let me look Hang on a second. Give me just a second. Your videos. All right. Right now,
travels with.
I did a video yesterday called New Laws Greatly Affecting Full-Time RV Folks. And to give you an idea of my long-form videos, I'm very excited and satisfied if I get 1,000 views on a video. And if I get like more, 1,500, I'm just over the moon. Yesterday, this one so far has gotten over 6,000 views. So, and I did this kind of on a whim. I was thinking yesterday, what can I do a video on? I really can't think of anything. It's not really time to do this, the comment video. And I thought, I just started Googling around about new RV laws. And I stumbled across an article about a couple that was full-timers domiciled in Arizona, and after COVID, they ended up having to file bankruptcy, and the lender was able to take their RV from them, their home. So they basically ended up homeless. Now, they ended up okay, but technically they ended up homeless because the court said your RV doesn't count as a home, and they argued it, and it went to the state Supreme Court in Arizona, and they said their interpretation of the law was the RV didn't count as a homestead. And it was like, boy, that stinks. That normally the bankruptcy laws is designed with the homestead exemption, where if you have a home, you get to keep that. That's the creditors can't take that from you in the bankruptcy proceeding under a certain amount. There are limits to it. So I was talking about that and reading the law, and I stopped there and I said, hang on a second. I'm going to pause the video and I'm going to go, because the article mentioned, legislators are considering doing a law to change this and to make it better. And I said, let's just see if that happened. And I'll be damned if it did happen and there was a new law and it went into effect like this month. Either there were two laws that I discussed, and one of them took effect in another state I'll talk about in a minute on one date, and this one on the other. One was like April, and one was May of this year, this month. So very recent stuff, and they absolutely corrected that. So from now on in Arizona, your RV counts as a home, as a homestead. And I thought to myself, I'm not planning on filing bankruptcy, but I wonder what the New Mexico law is. So I looked that up too, and the New Mexico existing law absolutely says it doesn't matter what you live in, whether it's a home or a condo or an RV, a trailer, a fifth wheel, a van, a car. If you live in it, it's exempt. So you get, the creditor can't take what you call your home. And it even says in New Mexico, and it doesn't matter whether where you live fits within zoning laws or not. It's irrelevant. Good protections in New Mexico. Then the other thing I was curious about is I had heard rumors for a while that the easy and inexpensive domiciling that goes out in South Dakota was about to change, and not in a way that's supportive to RVers. And so I went and checked on that, and lo and behold, there was new legislation, and it did pass, and it made it harder for people to become residents in South Dakota. The way I read the new law, and it says you have to be, instead, right now, before this law, for sure, you could go into the DMV there and get a driver's license and register your vehicles, staying one night in an RV park. Well, this new law says you have to be 30 days, consecutive days, and it has to be a permanent dwelling. And to me, I'm not a lawyer, obviously, but that seems to exclude RVs. So that new law. That's the one I believe went into effect May 5th, so very, very recently. And certainly people that are already residents there under the old law, they can't reach back and unmake them. But it's for new people coming forward, making it harder for them to become residents of the state, tightening up the requirements. There were quite a few, but more than one or two comments I just had to delete because they were political and angry and inaccurate. They viewed this as, taking away voting rights. It's not taking away voting rights. It's a state right to determine what makes you qualify as a resident. And where you're a resident, that decides where you get to vote, where you get to register to vote in both local and national elections. And you can't register in more than one state. That's a bit, you can't vote, like, to try to vote more than once in a national election by registering multiple states. That's illegal. You can't do that. That's like voter fraud. If you want to vote, you have to be a resident of a state. And whatever state you want to be a resident of, you really need to follow their rules for what they constitute as being a resident. And if a state wants to say, I'm not okay with you coming here and spending one night in an RV park and becoming a resident of this state and, only coming back every couple of years to redo your driver's license or whatever, that's not okay with us. And that's basically, I think, what the South Dakota is saying. And I don't think it's a violation of anybody's rights. No one's saying you can't. No one's stopping you from moving to South Dakota, renting an apartment, or following those residential rules and becoming. They'd be happy to have you as a resident, but not staying in an RV park. I don't think. Now, what if you're in an RV park in a mobile home? I don't know. Like I said, the interpretations of this law are yet to come. And I'm told by people in the comments that as recently as a couple days ago, if you go to the DMV website, those requirements, just one night and stuff, those things haven't changed. So I'm not sure why those things haven't changed. Maybe they haven't adjusted their policies to comport with the law, or there's some disagreement about interpretation. I have no idea. But I did ask people to let me know, if after this law is put in, were you able to go to South Dakota and spend one night just like usual and do it? I'd be interested in that. Or did you get there and find out things have changed? So we want to get a little anecdotal stuff on the back of me just reading what the laws are. But I got a lot of activity on there. So there are lots of, we're at an hour now, so I'm not going to read all those. But I can tell you, as of right now, we're at 6,200. So I think that's about the end of it. I think it's flattened out. Yeah, it looks like it looks like it's flattened out at about 6,000 views. But we got let's see, how many comments did we get on there? 86 comments and 433 likes. So 86 comments. I'm obviously not going to read those. We'll be here for another hour. But anyway, if you ranted and raved about how you think it's a violation of rights and the Constitution of what they're doing, I think that's nonsensical. Obviously, every state has their own guidelines for what it takes to become a resident, and just the fact that every state is a little bit different makes it okay to be different. And it's okay for a state, through the process of legislation, to change their laws. It's their right. States' rights, right? It's part of states' rights. So anyway, this, even skipping more than half the comments, we're at an hour. So I'm probably going to have to think about what to do about this. Even with this big video coming out, there were going 5 days is going too long now. So I'll figure out what to do going forward, because I think an hour is a little too long for this. But if you hung in there with me, thanks. I'll see you tomorrow.